Adam, good afternoon. Oh, it's gone. That's a very cool backdrop.
I have a very talented friend that painted those for me.
Wow, incredible.
Yes.
I hope I haven't spoiled show and tell.
Well, no. I have a hand-painted Bubbleworks sign as well. You may have seen it on a couple of videos, but that is the colours of my original logo, and I still use it in the background now. And yeah, she signed some pictures for it for me. So I'm in my lounge. This is my lounge. And that's where I kind of walk in and see those.
Fantastic. I'm in my girlfriend's makeup room. On to the main event. I have prepared... Yeah, I can't even speak. I have prepared a bunch of questions for you, tailored specifically towards the focus on UK theme parks and kind of your expertise around UK theme parks.
Yeah.
Question number one. Do you think the UK theme park scene is in a better place than people give it credit for, or are the criticisms mostly fair?
Yeah, it's in a better place than people give it credit for. You know, the criticisms are weird sometimes. I did think about this, and I think it will probably answer quite a few questions, but when you think about the size of like Germany and you think about the size of France compared to the size of England, where I'd probably argue there are as many rides in England that people want to go, actually, I want to go and ride Stealth. It's the fastest accelerator. I want to go ride Hyperia. I need to go to Alton Towers to get on, Nemesis. I need to go and do, Vampire. It's the only swinging one with flawless trains in the world. There's so many unique rides in the UK. Actually, if I say the UK, it's England. Let's be honest. I appreciate Barry Island have obviously got the booster, which is fair, but it's England, which is really, really small. And I think people forget this, that we've packed quite a lot of wannabe rides into this little area. There are some problems, obviously. It would be wrong of me to sit here and say, yeah, every theme park is perfect. But I've experienced things abroad, whether it be in the States or whether it be in Europe, and I just don't see the light and day difference that a lot of people make out. Let's put it that way.
I think that's a really, really good answer. What is something the UK does genuinely well in theme parks that we don't shout about enough?
Again, it's probably going to be a contentious one, but I say safety. Now, I know everyone's instantly going to go, Smiler crashed, because that's what everyone defaults to. But our safety record in the UK is immaculate, pretty much immaculate compared to anywhere else in the world. And the health and safety laws we've got, and again, from sort of being down Funland and seeing what they have to go through. I mean, they will literally take me for a complete strip down, every little nook and cranny that gets tested, how it gets tested, what they have to do, what they have to buy, and everything like that. It's mad. And I've seen videos from people that do similar things in the States and things, and it's not quite so in depth. I'm not saying they're not safe by any means, but I think our standards are so far above a lot of other places. And I think when you look at the roller coaster incidents as a whole, the UK probably comes out really, really well. And I think some of the things that we put in, especially after incidents, aren't talked about enough, that, whatever happens, that's never going to happen again. Ever going to happen again. You don't hear things of wheels falling off. You don't hear things of track cracking or anything like that. You just don't hear it. So I think we're probably underrated on that.
I think that's an absolutely excellent point. If we look at the parks over in Orlando, I believe that they're self-governed in terms of safety and maintenance.
I believe they are. I think it's state by state, which is crazy out there for a lot of things, but particularly this, yeah, they are self-governed, yeah.
Which UK park do you think has quietly improved the most over the last few years without making a big deal about it?
Now, of course, you'd want to say Portland's Parks. I don't think they made a massive deal about it, but I think they probably did, especially after winning the award last year. So I think I'd probably have to say Creeley. I think when you go back sort of pre-pandemic, Creeley owned the Devon and the Cornwall Park. And also the Cornwall Park didn't do very well and they sold it. And I think it's been closed now. I'm not 100% sure. But there was a lot of speculation that Creeley was starting to hit the floor and they didn't have the money and they didn't have anything to do anything. And yet they just sort of quietly invest in little attractions. They're not well beaten attractions. They're not incredibly themed, but they are themed attractions. And then, of course, they introduced something simple like Sooty, much like Portland's did with Pepper, where everyone was like, probably won't work. And Sootyland's just taken them to the next level, where this year they can invest in effectively 2 family thrill rides, which, you wouldn't be thinking those two rides go into that sleepy little park down in Devon, and they're still not super shouting about it.
Contender for Universal GB, what do you reckon?
Well, well, I don't know if we have contenders for Universal GB. I think there'll be Universal GB and everyone else, and not necessarily in a bad way, but I think there'll just be. I don't think we'll be able to hold any park in contention with them. That's all.
If someone from Europe visited only one UK park to understand what we do best, where are you sending them and why?
I'm sending them to Portland Park. There's no hesitation, and that's because everything is nailed. Everything is nailed. They might not have the biggest thrilling rides in the world, but the story is there, the detail is there, the passion for theme parking is there, the cleanliness is there, the food options are there, the entrance there, some gardens there, you got a little bit of animal interaction as well. Everything about Portland's Park sums up what all our parks should be like in the UK.
Couldn't agree with you more. I just think Flight of the Pterosaur, phenomenal. Storm Chaser, phenomenal. Cyclonator, I fucking hate that one, but What is the most underrated ride in the UK right now?
See, I want to say Rattlesnake, but yeah, absolutely hammered for that.
I like it. I like it.
I think Rattlesnake. I think people misunderstand the point of Rattlesnake, but I think to call it underrated is probably going a bit too far. It's probably going to be 13. I just think, minus the brake on the drop. I have ridden it without the brake on the drop before they installed it, and the coaster's crazy. I really wish they kept it, but it just, I don't know. It just has the story. It has a nice, relaxed theme outside, and then the indoor bit, and the mix up with forward and backwards, a drop. I just don't think, for what it is, a family coaster. Granted, I know the advertising woes that Alton Towers put themselves through with that, but I think as a ride package, that I just love it. I think it's grown better with time. They've tried to tackle lots of bits, and actually, apart from the advertising, got a lot of it right.
Is there a UK attraction, area, or experience that enthusiasts love to dismiss, but you actually think nails what it's trying to do?
Short answer is no. To be honest, the long answer is we've got some attempts for it, and I think all the attempts fall probably at Alton Towers.
Mm-hmm.
In things like Curse, which I know is universally, I don't think it's hated, but the problem is that people are like, it's better than Jewel, it's better than Jewel, and people are like, it's not as good as the Haunted House. Now, I was lucky enough, I'm 44, I'm lucky enough to have ridden the Haunted House when the year it opened. It's good for its time, but is Curse better? Yeah, it is. And I don't think there's many enthusiasts that actually rode Haunted House, maybe just looking at it in videos. And I think Curse, as a story, as an atmosphere, as a queue line as well, because even when it gets a long queue, you're queuing for a little graveyard area, a bit of smoke. I just think it probably nails it than we give it more credit for. And the other one's got to be Hex, of course, which, urban legend Hex. I think people are so fascinated with the disco lights at the end now, they completely forget the storyline building up to the ride and the whole pre-show and, room by room and everything. So they come the closest, I would say. Maybe Ghostly Manor, to be fair, actually. Maybe Ghostly Manor. But we don't have, we don't have a Forbidden Journey. We don't have a Monsters Unchained. We don't have that. From the second you enter the queue line, you're totally immersed in a completely different world. Not yet. Soon.
Very soon.
2031.
Absolutely. Do you think the UK undersells itself instead of leaning into its own strengths?
What should they get? And then you pause and think, well, what should they get? Do you go something tried and tested and everyone goes, you're copying everyone in Europe? Or do you go, actually, we'll get a prototype ride, which might have problems? Or do you go, we'll go completely out there? And I think it's difficult because I don't necessarily think the UK parks necessarily look abroad and think, I'm not going to get that because that's there. We might think that. I think arguably we might look at particularly the mega discos. I mean, now we've got technically 3 in the country. I know one's in dismantle, but that's probably that. Wild Mouses, Rattlesnake, Marble Madness, there's a couple of others kicking around as well. Do those parks think, actually, is someone going to rock up from Chesington and to Pleasurewood Hills and go, I'm not going to ride this because there's one at Chesington and I saw one out in France? Probably not. So I don't know whether the parks themselves think much of it. I think we probably make more of a big deal about it. It's the same as the Toxicator situation. Oh, they're replacing Ripsaw with Toxicator. Great. It's a brilliant ride. Should have done it when the other one closed. That's the kind of thing where everyone's like, wow, the one out in wherever it is, Phantasialand or wherever it is, has got rocks around the background and fire. Great. This isn't that theme, but it has a great theme and it's still a great ride. So I think that's probably enthusiast-led wrongly, that there's only so many rides in the world. I think even when you scroll through like SBF's or Zamperla's website and you look at those and you think, maybe Wicksteed could get away with, they've got that little swinging one. You couldn't put that at Chesington. You couldn't put that at any major park. It just wouldn't work. And I think that's where it probably comes down to. Chesington being quite brave for that little drifter thing this year. I think it's, the first chance we got in Deep Horton's opening the swing. But if you take that swing, which is brilliant, those art engineering swings, I don't know if you've ridden one.
Not yet. Hoping to when it opens.
Brilliant fun, but you couldn't stick that in a Merlin park. It just wouldn't work. So I think that we hold Merlin probably more accountable than what they should be for decisions they make, and I don't think any of them are looking over their shoulder to foreign parks.
Do you think that Hyperia was a safe bet?
Yeah, I mean, it's cheaper than going for an Intamin, which arguably you would probably have to have at that because B&M wouldn't get one in that space. You wouldn't want another Gerstlauer at 200 foot. It's the safest thing they could have done. The problem they had was, and this is the Merlin problem, is they go, right, you got 18 million, and whoever designed it goes, right, that coaster's going to cost 17.8, not allowing for anything else. And then you get to the point where you run out of track at the end, you have to stick brake in. But for what it delivers and the elements, yes, safe bet. It's a safe bet.
What is something abroad that UK enthusiasts massively overrate?
Cost and operations. I'm not that well travelled abroad, to be fair, but I've been to Terra Mystica, Portaventura, Plopsaland, Disney, and Disney aside, operations are far worse than Merlin parks on those three parks. I don't think anyone would argue with Portaventura. And some people might argue with Plopsaland, but I won't take it. I've been there a few times, I just won't take it. And the cost as well is quite staggering, that you're happy to pay. I mean, Plopsaland opens, I don't know when you're putting this out, but it opens this weekend. So it opens on the 14th of February.
Yeah.
It's €49 to get in, which is about £44. And I'm going to Alton Towers for 30 quid. But we'll go to Plopsaland because it's got Ride of Happiness. But it hasn't really got, on honesty, the ride lineup that Alton Towers has got. The rides at Alton Towers are better. Whether you queue for them more or not is neither here or there. But the ride selection at Alton Towers for me is better than Plopsaland. But we just go, no, 44 quid's fine. I'm not paying 30 quid to get in Alton Towers. And it's really weird that we do that. Really peculiar.
I actually agree with you, because I'm probably going to drive from my house to the Dover to get on the ferry to drive to Plopsaland before I drive 2.5 hours up to Alton Towers.
Yeah.
And I have a platinum pass.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? I mean, don't get me wrong, Ride to Happiness is spectacular. I mean, I'm happy to ride that twice a year, no problems. I'll pay to go out there, but yeah, and let's not forget they're €15 parking as well, which is more expensive than any UK park. Ooh. So yeah, staggering that we just don't mention that. We just go, go to Plopsaland or go to Phantasialand or England. They're all in the same boat. I mean, Phantasialand just had a sale, but their normal price is €59. Now, granted, I haven't been there, and they've got some obvious good coasters. But is the park that big? No, it's really not. It's really not that big. So yeah, that's what I think we overrate. We overrate the offering, I think, abroad.
Do you think some European parks get a free pass for things that UK parks would be criticised heavily for, like operations, downtime, or capacity?
Yeah, 100%. And it links into the last one as well, because again, they don't get criticised for the price at all. The operations, we went to Plopsaland for opening day last year. Ride to Happiness opened at 4:45. We waited all day. Heidi was on one train, which, as you know, is only 6 long. So you just like, You just queue and queue and queue. I don't know if you can include Disney in this. Disney are on a different planet, even in France, to kind of what they can do. But Portaventura is the same. You can rock up, have one train operation, and you know, a lot of parks don't get hammered for it. It's a bit weird. I find it a bit odd, but I guess there's a lot of people that think the grass is always greener somewhere else than what it is here, where actually I really appreciate what we have in the UK, and rather that, you know, I don't necessarily think they're all run how I would run them. Not that I necessarily know how to run them better, but I just think that we don't appreciate what we've got.
What do you realistically want to see more of in the UK theme parks?
Whatever it takes for them to be 365. And that's the simplest answer, whether that be maintenance schedules, whether that be different rides, you know, design rides, because again, we go back to Hyperion. Was that designed to run any time other than July? No. Dark rides, 100%. There are some parks that are getting there. But yeah, whatever it takes for the parks to be open 365, because they won't all need to be, but there'll be a selection that need to be by the time Universal open. I've ridden Nemesis and Galactica in the snow. I've ridden them both in the snow. I've ridden Dragon's Fury in the snow as well. Now, I know Dragon's Fury is a little bit more temperamental, granted, but yes, Nemesis and Galactica I've ridden in the snow, and of course they used to open, and I'd be staggered if Oblivion could ever stall. Staggered, to be honest with you. The speed it hits that final turn, whatever the weather, I'd be staggered.
If you had a magic wand or a Merlin-sized budget, what's one bold move you'd make to change perceptions of UK theme parks overnight?
I would remove Fast Track. Now, hear me out here, because this actually links to an earlier one. So again, we're happy to go to Plopsaland, pay 45 quid to get in. We're happy to go to Phantasialand, pay £55 to get in. Happy to go to Disney and pay £140 to get in on some days. You know, Park Asterix, I think, was £50. We're then happy to pay parking on top. And yet Portland's Park's too expensive at 46 quid, despite the fact you can walk in, not queue, ride everything, leave. So in my head, I'm like, well, why do we expect Merlin to be put in Alton Towers, Chessington and Fort Park, which generally you can get in £31, maybe 35 in peak season? Why are we expecting that when foreign parks aren't doing that? Why are we not going, why are Merlin not turning around saying, actually, let's charge everyone an extra tenner. Get rid of Fast Track. People will come in. They won't queue a long time for rides. They'll queue because they're busy parks. You know, they're not Portland's, in fairness. They do get more visitors. But they'll come in and they'll queue at least, let's be honest, a third less. And arguably, we're going to get more money because not everyone buys Fast Pass. You know, and even the people that buy Platinum Fast Pass will easily be balanced out by the 8,000 to 10,000 people that goes in. Hell, we might even sell more annual passes as well. And they just need to take the bold move that every park, you know, even the European parks, not only charge extra to get in, but also charge for Fast Track on top. Let's not forget that. I don't understand why we're so cheap and expect the same kind of results what they're getting in Europe. So Merlin, for me, strike Fast Track off, charge everyone an extra tenner, and everyone's day will be better. And Portland's is a prime example of that. You know, I've been there when they've got 6,000 plus people, which is top end of theirs. You still won't queue more than 20 minutes for anything.
I feel personally attacked when you say people look at Portland's and say it's too expensive. I have done exactly that. I've gone, oh, we could just go to Portland's today. It's like, oh, I don't know, 120 quid for the three of us. But you are absolutely right. It is worth every penny. Apologies, Portland's, if you ever watch this. Do you think future UK wins come from headline-grabbing coasters or from lots of smaller, smarter improvements done consistently well?
The general perception of the public is it must be bigger and better. Whether or not it's Merlin's fault or Two Swords' fault that that's the perception, because of how they've always marketed rides. You know, when you look at like Taron and rides like that, they're not really world's first or anything, but they're stunning rides, spectacular rides. You know, even Ride to Happiness wasn't a world's first, but it's still an incredible ride. So I'd like to think that there's just something, you know, and I think Wicker Man actually, ignoring the fusing metal with fire, wood, whatever, that came out for about 20 minutes before they realised it was a stupid idea. Wickerman's the first time I thought Merlin had gone, actually, let's concentrate on the story, let's concentrate on a theme, and let's really go to town on that. And actually, I think Wickerman has probably been one of the biggest successes for Merlin, I would argue. So I'd like to think that they're not going to go that route, and they are going to go down the, we need to tell a story, we need to have people immersed, and we need to, whether it be dark ride or roller coaster, just to have something that's not just plopped on a bit of water or plopped on a bit of field. No offense to Hyperia, but it should have been better.
Speaking of Two Swords and Merlin, what do you think is the biggest sin that Merlin's made since taking over?
Focusing on only one park at a time. Now, they'll probably claim they don't do that, but you can look back on, they've either bitten off more than they can chew, or they've completely misread the room. But you can look back on the first years where Chesington had no investment, and then suddenly started getting it because Fort Park were getting all the investment, and then Fort Park all the way through and had nothing for years. And look at Alton Towers. Now, I know they were slightly skewed by Smiler, granted, but they had all that investment up to Wickerman. It was like, actually, we're going to focus somewhere else. And then the rides they don't look after. And it's not the park's fault. I've seen this from speaking to Chesington engineers and things. They're like, we are desperately trying to get the paintbrush out, make it look nice. But, it's like the budget's like 50 quid to do so at winter. And that's the problem. And that's when Merlin have gone, we built the ride, it's your problem. And then there's no actually, next year we might need to do some touch-ups on it, or we might need to do, some theme correction if it's been vandalized throughout the year. And their biggest sin is just there's no further planning. It's here and now, and then nothing. That's it, on your own. And I spoke to the operations guy at Portland's. It was quite interesting because I said, how, there's no graffiti. You just don't see it. And he said to me that Ghostly Manor at the beginning of the school season got trashed on the inside. Absolutely trashed. Things ripped, like drawings and things. They fixed it overnight. Next day, made them queue outside. And I'm like, well, Merlin would have gone, that's all right. And then it might have got a little bit of a touch up at the end of the year. And it's, baffling. I don't know if you remember when Saw opened, part of the contract was that they couldn't have chewing gum on the floor for the first couple of years. So when Saw opened in 2009, they used to have to clean the chewing gum and there was nothing. Whereas now Merlin just paint over it. Walking Dead's a great one of that. The Walking Dead queue line with the painted over chewing gum is a joke. And that's where their sins are. There's just not enough money going into what they've got. If they looked after what they've got, they probably wouldn't have to invest so much now.
One thing UK enthusiasts should stop complaining about, and one thing they absolutely should keep pushing parks on.
Stop complaining about the price. Quite honestly. It's just the price. I think we're really well off over here, and they need to continue to push on operations. I don't think Merlin. I think Merlin are really good. There's a few times at Legoland last year I wanted to, just walk out, but I think the other three parks are brilliant on operations. But they're not the problem. The problem are Drayton Manor. The problem are Flamingo Land that, have this ability to have better operations and choose not to. So I think they should be outed to say, you buy 2 trains, you run 2 trains.
It's time for the show and tell. What have you got for show and tell?
I didn't have a Nemesis bolt, sadly. Sorry about that. So I've got over 50 wheels, I've got various pistons, I've got loads of random bits and pieces, but the ones that everyone wants is this.
Dun, 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 dun.
And that is, of course, the original hiccup from Professor Burt's Bubbleworks, not the Pretend Bubbleworks, the original one from there. There was only 3, only 2 of them left the park. And he holds my well, he used to have a plant in, but he's got blue tack in there at the moment.
Talk about protecting heritage.
Yeah, that's it. And he sits on my shelf for the rest of my theme park stuff. I also have a sign from there as well, and I've had a replica sign like these painted of the Professor Burt's. But yeah, he is a original untouched piece from Chesington history.
That's incredible. Does it smell like the Bubbleworks? Like the musty...
A little bit, still. Little bit. Little bit.
What do you reckon?
The sign smells more, to be fair.
Ditch the Gruffalo IP and let's see the Bubbleworks come back.
Yeah, it's. I've heard that is going, but it definitely won't be Bubbleworks that's coming back. Sadly.
So 2026 is a big year. What are your plans?
I need to get around a few more parks in the UK. I mean, obviously, I will be a resident of Portland's, Chesington, undoubtedly. I will need to get down to Creeley again. I will definitely go to Ride Invictus. I need to get to Lightwater Valley because I'm quite excited that they've had new ownership. And I know there'll only be travelling rides that go in, but it's just Lightwater Valley's beautiful grounds. Pleasurewood Hills for exactly the same reason. I think they'll get a few good rides that go in. So yeah, travel the UK. You'll find me at Portland's Park, definitely. But travel the UK.
Fantastic. Well, Adam, thank you so much for the time, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Cheers. Big thank you to Adam for hopping in. Tune in next week to see who we get next.